All right. Yeah. Did everybody get a handout? I think that I had. And you can kind of probably recognize portions of it because what I'm doing is working down from that original schedule. Kind of wanted to start with a review. Right at the end of the session last Friday, I was presenting and we were discussing the writing system history of the language. And I wanted to know if anybody had, or even anything we discussed last time, you know, that you wanted to clarify or discuss further about.
I think I talked to you after class and you said you were going to bring, I forget what it was, like, because I talked to you about grammar del Lay, the L-A-Y or something, and you were saying something about talking about.
Well, you mean like, okay, so, you mean like how we spell it now?
Yeah, what we were saying.
See, so.
That was the lie.
Yeah, see in English we would call this le, right?
Right, yeah.
But see, the sound system, this is always ah, right?
Right, okay.
And so ah is always ah. Mm-hmm. Now if you add the e sound to it, that becomes I.
Okay.
I.
Oh,
I.
Okay.
Because this sound really is not wa.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, I mean,
Not like yellow.
yeah, or yeah, it's not a LL sound like lello. The kids, babies will say lello. Yeah, it's not. It's E. So see, this could be this too.
Right.
See, like the word tie, right? It could be AI or AY. These actually on the phoneme chart for language is identical sounds.
Okay.
They're produced in the same place in the mouth. But psychologically, we give it a different value in English, unconsciously. We're not aware that we're doing that. And that's why we call this, you know, so we learn this as may, right?
Right.
May. But see, really, may in English is how to make it, it's a, oh, I forgot how to make it. It's that EA backwards thing. I forgot how to make it. It's actually an A sound. That's what does it that way. See, that's what A. This is I. See, so we have to relearn that in this writing system as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So back to great grammar, Delilah. See,
Okay.
duh, and then of course the students are still that I don't know are trying to call us a v, you know,
Right.
and of course that's really not that. It's just the single. Well, I guess that's oo, so that's where the problem comes from. You know, going back to that vowel structure I showed you, the high front, you know, E, high back, oo, low front, A, low back, ah, and the central vowel, See, that's just a simple It's called a schwa. The name of this sound is called schwa. Okay, that's the name of that sound. It's called the schwa. It's the one that's produced in the center of our oral tract. And it's the default position of the tongue. Really, it's See, where everything else is articulated by the teeth, the lips, the tongue, the roof of the mouth, the throat, the laryngeal areas, and the glottis down here. So that's that central location. Okay, and that's why it's called mid or the schwa. So when we were choosing letters, where's it at? Is it on the dollar? Do I have a dollar? Where's the one that says E pluribus unum?
You know you only got hundreds in there.
No, it's not showing all that's in there. But where does it say E pluribus unum?
On an order, maybe?
It says it on one of them.
It says what?
E pluribus unum. It means one people. E pluribus unum.
Out of any one or something?
Yeah, well, pluribus is the people, right?
Yeah.
And unum, the one.
Yeah,
E, the.
Yeah.
So the one people. Anyway, it's what is so what is that? What? How do you spell it? E.
P-L-U-R-B-I-S.
Pluribus. No. Something like that. But anyway, see this pluribus unum. That's where we borrowed it from. And the reason would be is that, see, we don't have, you know, the thing that's different in our sound system, we don't have an O. So see, E, U, A, O, where's O? O is probably right in here somewhere. So since we don't have an O to help us, how are we going to differentiate U from You only have one letter available. And so it's already going to take the prominence of U. See, this is oo. So we went back and forth. Well, okay, are we going to go with this is going to be and this is going to be oo. See what I'm saying? Well, then when you had a long vowel, like do, it would look like this. You'd spell do like this then. And we went, oh, that's pretty ugly. You know? So we don't want to go there. Do, right? You know, just to get to this. And so we looked around in the universe, and here's this e pluribus unum. It's all over Latin. When you go to the letters carved in, the words carved in Washington D.C., this schwa is everywhere. So, and the reason why it worked for Dee-ni is because we don't have a v sound. Now, if we had the v sound, right, that was a word or sound in our language, we would have had to go, darn it, that's not going to work. We had to come with a different strategy. So that's how we ended up with that schwa for duh, and then lai, li. I think that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit. Yeah, it seems like we're talking about just that sound. And what happens is that we all grow up speaking a certain language. We all grow up spelling it a certain way. And these conventions that then are learned by us unconsciously, and then eventually consciously once we're in school, you know, and then of course we accept this as the worldview. Well, when you're looking at a different writing system from a different language, then you start projecting, just like your sound system you would do, and your grammar onto that writing system. So, Dee-ni, you have to re-register just a few things. I and basically, you know, and a couple other things, just to kind of realize you're in a different writing system. Like if I was writing Hawaiian up here, you'd recognize it. If I was writing Italian up here, you'd recognize it, right? So hopefully if I was writing Dee-ni up here, you'd recognize it. You know, eventually, you know, and then English or whatever. And because it has its own, you know, way it's set up. So that's how we got to with that letter. Like the kids at school said, oh, so this, they don't have, they're just my regular students, you know, in my class. And they go, so this is named Ta'atavan. And I go, no, it's Ta'dun. And they go, oh, this is not a va? You know, I said, that's not Ta'atavan. I'm trying to throw a va in the middle of it all. You know, it's like, no, that's not, you know, anyway. So yeah, so there's some adjusting. Okay, anything else from last time? Anyway, so it was just kind of, we were finishing off on the idea that when the computer generation time era hit us, and then it was a matter, and so now we're just so practically thankful because we can use a Natra and you can text in it. You know, even if we could have developed a computer font to write Unifont for us, it would have been restricted to that computer. It would not carry across to any apps, any other technologies, any other media. We would still not be able to text on Facebook, you know, if we had kept the Unifont. So it really would have been a crippling thing for the language to stay in that writing system, even though we used it from 1968 to 95, whatever that was from last week there.
We're actually the last tribe in all the local tribes to leave Unifont.
We were. Yeah, the first language to write with Unifont was Hupa. The second language, I believe, was us. The third language was Karuk, and the fourth language was Yurok. And everybody abandoned Unifont except for Bernice and I. We hung on to it for a while longer. And it was because those elders put so much energy into the recordation of our language. You know, from 1968 on until they passed on, that's what they wrote the language in, you know, and they knew that system. And when you're 85, you don't want to learn a new writing system, right? It doesn't make any sense to you. And so as poor Glenn Moore passed on, you know, as poor Georgina passed on, Bernice passed on, you know, all those old speakers that wrote in Unifont that begrudgingly, difficultly left. But we were the last ones to finally abandon it, I think in 95, whatever my timeline I gave you yesterday,
yes,
or last Friday. And so it's like, okay, here we are. Yes?
I was playing in my phone the other day, and you can change to different keyboards, and there's actually a Cherokee keyboard.
Nice.
And a Hawaiian one too.
Yeah, Cherokee Celebrate. And there's Arabic, and you know, yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was looking for the emoticon one.
I was like, what's did you find the Dee-ni one?
I thought that was really interesting.
Or the Navajo one even would be interesting. See, because they have that thing I was talking about last time was that nasal hook. See? See, like that, you know. And so they would have to have a page, whatever you want. What do you call it? A font page, I guess. You know. You know.
Alphabet or
Yeah, that would have the nasal hook ability, for example. And a Navajo has tone. So over a vowel, if it's a long high tone, they'd have to have that, see? And so if it was nasalized with a high tone, you'd have to have at least three things going on there to create that one sound in Navajo. So that's why they do those, is so that you can actually, write those various languages. So, yeah. So that was kind of how we departed and arrived at where we were, where we got to now. And that history, I tried to describe that history in the book in the introduction. And I didn't want to get it so long-haired that you'd all start, anybody who read it would go to sleep and start drooling or something. Because it's like, how long are you going to drone on about this? But, in writing. But here I try to put the history here. Where did I put it? During the 1970s, a typing element was designed. So that's on page 14 in the beginning of the book. And then uniform was used and so on. And I just kind of went through the history of where we progressed from one point to another to end up with our Dee-ni alphabet of today, the Tala Dee-ni alphabet as of today. Okay, so anything else? And I threw spelling rules and conventions at the bottom because we will get to those, later. We'll just do those later. Because that's a very, kind of a specific thing.
I think one thing to recognize too is that speaking and reading are two different things.
Yeah, really.
And so learning orthography and learning what those sounds are, you can read all you probably could, but then to enunciate it correctly, and that's where I think the audio comes in.
Yeah, that's
For us to have
That's so much
CDs and
fun
whatnot,
with
which I really
that.
appreciate
Figure
the language department doing,
That's
yeah.
so fun.
Because you can look at a symbol, but what
Yeah.
does it say?
Right.
I can look at the Cherokee language and go, how in the world do you say that?
Yeah.
So, and that's where our new toy we got, Lauren goes through the whole thing on enunciation, which really helps.
And especially getting to hear yourself compared to what you
What you're
say a
hearing,
word.
yeah, your chip has to produce it.
Because I frustrate the heck out of Bray because I say the F with it, she goes, you do, and I can't hear it. I don't know it until I play it on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I'm going to correct it, but I can at least know it.
But
Yeah, at least you know
aware
there's a
of-
speech in there, yeah,
See,
that's
that's the hugest piece right there.
Yeah.
I want to make it an F.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, so what I wanted to kind of start off on today were the parts of speech and then syntax. And as I always jokingly, and I know it's an old joke and should stop saying it, but syntax is what you pay for singing. No, that's not that at all.
But you do sin if you don't get syntax right.
So syntax.
And that just means missing the mark.
So syntactic order is used all over the world, like especially in the computer world. Things have to be sequential. I mean, well, they don't have to, but to make them function the way you want them, they have to, go in order. And so every language in the world has, has a syntax in its speech. And so the thing to know about us, for Dee-ni, we are an SOV language. Okay. And what that says there next to that is a subject, object, verb language. Okay? SOV language. Another way to say this is that we are a verb final language. Okay, so what that means is that in a construction, which in this case would be a sentence, in a phrase, which is a sentence, then the verb is always going to be at the end of the construction. It's never on the front, it's always going to be at the end. So for example, in English, so I am going to Crescent City. Okay, so let's pick this apart a little bit and use some of our great knowledge that you've got. So I am going to Crescent City. Perfect English sentence, right? We all agree? Sounds good?
In English?
Yeah, no, perfectly English, good English sentence, right? So what kind of word is Crescent City?
No.
No.